I was born 10 weeks premature, and then I was in an incubator for quite a while. Because of the birth trauma, I had spastic hemiplegia, which is the stabler form of cerebral palsy. My family, they always said that I should do everything everyone else did, even if I did it slower and worse.
When you're young and you walk funny, people automatically think that you can't talk, you can't do other things. And I think the hardest thing for him was to push past those barriers and actually let people know he was a real person with normal feelings and normal thoughts, and his body wasn't like everyone else's.
When there's a constant chronic pain, and that is what I started to have, and then pain that gets to be severe, and then pain that steals things and takes away things, that's really difficult.
He had 3 jobs to put himself through university, which really, I just admire him. And he works so hard.
In 2005, I got chronic fatigue after a batch of glandular fever. And then that's a difficult condition anyway. But on top of the cerebral palsy, it nearly finished me in the sense that my mobility declined significantly. And I got to the point of, why am I here? This whole thing is meaningless. I'm a burden, and if this is going to be my life, perhaps it would be better if I didn't have it. The worst thing is not feeling your value. And there comes a moment when you don't feel that and other people have to hold that for you.
There are so many people and they think nobody cares whether I live or die, but we do. Doggone it, we do. We care. You know, I care about my son, but I care about the neighbour as well, you know, and if they're struggling, you just get off your backside and you go and help. But don't just pop them off because they think they're a burden. They're not a burden. They're family, friends, loved ones.
To be really honest, if euthanasia were an option, I know not just me, but a whole bunch of other people would be tempted to take that, would be tempted not to feel their value, would be tempted to cut the story short and finish it. When you have literal matters of life and death, and you have really complicated conditions, really complicated psychological and emotional realities, really complicated physical realities that might not be well understood, that makes me worry.
You've simply got the fact that making decisions about a person's ability to make clear decisions is extremely difficult. It is inherently difficult. And so it's an area where mistakes can be made. How do you ensure that a person who's making a decision to end their own life is making that decision freely and voluntarily? And how do you know that the doctor who is verifying that decision is doing the right thing and hasn't made a mistake?
Experience overseas shows that what were initially restrictive criteria always expand, that the safeguards fall away, that coercion does occur, that there have been abuses, and that what starts out as a right to die for a few very quickly becomes a duty to die for many.
The individual message of the person who is having euthanasia is, my life is not worth living. And the message of the doctor that does it says, I agree with you, so I'll give you euthanasia. And the message of the society is, well, we agree with that too, and we'll legalise it. And instead of caring for you and offering you all the support that we could that would make your life worth living, we'll let you be killed.
I don't think it is the state's role. I think the state's primary role is to protect its citizens. For 1,000 years and beyond, medicine has had a very clear ethical principle around killing patients, and the law as it stands creates a very clear, bright line as to where the boundaries are, which is protective for both patients and doctors.
MPs are there to run the country. They are not there to make such significant decisions about life and death. And I can't see how this contributes to the overall well-being of our whānau and our communities.
What I'm worried about is a society that gradually closes the space for difficult people and difficult things, like death and dying, like mobility decline, like people who might take extra time and extra space, and becomes a society which creates what is essentially a conveyor belt to suicide in a way that we would never do with young people or with elderly people. If I were a 25-year-old rugby player, we would not be having this conversation. Suddenly, because I'm sick, I have to stand in front of a camera and say why I think my life is valuable. This in itself is a huge problem.
If we can teach them community, that the whole community cares, not just because you're able and you can work or you can do things, but even when you're at your most vulnerable and you're at the most lowest, we care. We want to help. There's hope.
I'm hugely grateful that, in a sense, I've been recalled to life and given a chance to do that for other people and to give life and gift for other people. That's why I get up in the morning, and it's why I get up in the morning and do it all again.